you guys for coming. Really great turnout today. Thank you, Christina. I want to introduce Chris Stevens, as I mentioned. He's from the KW Philadelphia office. He's the OP. So Bill Boswell's role here, he's that in the Philadelphia Market Center. And you're also a regional person in the
Area director for Tri-State.
And for the Tri-State region. What area director for are you for Pennsylvania as well, or?
Yeah, part of 2 regions.
Okay, so I get to see Chris every Monday. He helps really lead all the team leaders in our region to really elevate ourselves, and I have no doubt that he's going to do an amazing job today sharing perspectives. With that, I also want Natalie, we've got a big culture committee event afterwards. I want to just highlight that so you guys can all stay after for that.
Yeah, so one of the cool, exciting events we have is a mozzarella making event hosted by Mark Messina. So after this, if you guys like food, which I know you all do, stick around, learn to make some mozzarella, eat some great food with us. And just a reminder, it's not all about work in your business, it's about having fun as well. So hang out afterwards if you can. So that should be after lunch.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just know that clock is 6 minutes down.
How is everyone?
Good.
I've taught this course a bunch of times, and a lot of other courses too. And one thing when I teach is it's got to be fun. It's got to be engaging. I want to make sure that I bring a lot of value for you guys. So I'll go off script a lot. I tell a lot of stories. So one thing about me is I'm not boring. So we are going to have a good time here today. It's funny when Matt told me that you're making mozzarella today. I was in hospitality for 20 years prior to being in real estate, and I've made thousands of pounds of mozzarella. So I was like, wow, you're making mozzarella. It's gonna be pretty cool. So bring me back a little bit. A little bit my background, so you know that who's talking to you. Again, 20 years in hospitality. I used to own 4 restaurants, sold them. I was with Wolfgang Puck for about 5 years, traveled with him, did Oscars and a bunch of other cool stuff. I jumped off the cliff, got my real estate license in 2014. Started with RE/MAX just because everyone I knew was with RE/MAX at the time, all my friends. I didn't even shop around. First year I did 4 million, 8 million second year, and then my third year I think I was on track to do 12, and then I just outgrew my office. And someone that I knew knew the owner of KW, which used to be called KW Center City. And I was in the suburbs. I wanted to be in the city. Make a long story short, went there, met the owner, and then he started talking about some position called the team leader. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. And he's like, yeah, I need someone to like run my brokerage for me. I'm like, I don't know anything about running a real estate brokerage, but I do know how to lead people. I do know about real estate, obviously. So after about 5-6 months, we came to an agreement. Best decision I ever made. That was in 2017 beginning. And then myself and my partner bought him out in September of 2018. And then we went from 228 agents, we're close to 600 now today. Built out leverage services. So we have our own marketing media department and our own transaction management company called Take Me to Closing, which we're in 3 other market centers as well. We have 2 tele companies, an insurance company, and we're starting a mortgage division now. So we're growing pretty good. But I used to be with the greater PA region on the team, left there and then transitioned over to the Tri-State region. And it's been nothing short of awesome. So it's a pleasure to be here. If you guys have questions, just kind of just go like this and you don't need to wait till the end. Sound good? Who in here has taken the 6 personal perspectives before? Okay, so this is good. All right. I love teaching this. I love teaching this. It's working. There we go. What is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish as much? What do you guys think?
Motivation.
Motivation? That could have something to do with it. Yeah.
Intention.
Intention. Okay.
Habits.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. Right? Who in here has read or listened to Atomic Habits? Right? What an amazing book. If you haven't read it, get it. It's absolutely a game changer. A lot of that stuff that they talk about in the book, I actually live it every day. For me, some people ask me, how are you able to do what you do, right? I fit a lot of stuff in, so I'm very big on time blocking. And we'll get into that in a little bit as one of the perspectives, is I make sure that I'm really purposeful with my time, right? Because time is the most important thing that we have, right? Some people will say money, right? Money's important, but I think for me, especially as you get older, time is really the most important thing that we all have, because life can be short. So for me, it's being purposeful with the habits that you have, right? Hopefully good habits, and also mindset. I firmly believe if you're going to be successful or really operate at a really high level, there has to be accountability. I'm very big on accountability, but also, how does your morning look? Right? When you get up in the morning, like for me, I'm at the gym at 4:45 in the morning. And then I know that I'm very regimented. So when I get back at 6:15, it's journaling, it's reading 10 pages, it's watching a podcast, whatever it is. And I pick different topics so I can learn something different every day, right? And for all of us, we need to be the better versions of ourselves today than we were yesterday. And I think for this, if you want to operate at a high level and really accomplish a lot, it starts with your mindset, and it also starts, as you just mentioned, with having really good habits, right? And win the morning, win the day. I always say that. So if you get up, like you're not a morning person, and you get up at 8:30, 9 o'clock, okay, but how's the rest of the day look, right? Make sense?
Yes.
All right, so we kind of touched on mindset. Who said attitude? Someone said attitude in here, I think, right? No? An approach to life. So we talked about mindset. Who in here has been in a room with someone that's super negative? I'm dealing with it right now. No, not you guys, but right now in my market center, I have someone on the leadership team who's been with me for 7 years. And has a lot of good traits, really great person, but just not a leader. And brings people down around him. And the attitude that he has is starting to rub off on the rest of the team, right? So myself as the OP, as the leader of the brokerage, is I have to deal with it, right? And just one person then can really just everything you work so hard to build up, whether it's if you're a team leader of a team, or you're on a leadership team in the market center, or just an individual agent, right? Can really take down your business. It's attitudes are so important. And then your approach to life. What do you guys think that means? What's your approach to life?
Is it your perspective or the things that you value?
Yep, absolutely. Perspective, things that you value, what's important to you, right? So step one, commit to self-mastery. What does that mean? And by the way, I love to talk, but you're not going to hear me talk the whole time, so I need engagement. Yes? So commit to self-mastery.
Lifelong learning.
What's that?
Lifelong learning.
Exactly. What else could it mean?
Discipline.
Discipline, habits, right? One more.
Owning your growth.
Owning your growth. That for me, commit to self-mastery is I'm learning based, right? And that every day, you heard me talk about it before, is I want to learn something new every day. Or learn more about it, right? And I'm committed to it. And we can't master 5 or 6 things. It's impossible. It's just absolutely impossible. That's why we'll get to the 80-20 principle is stay in your lane, right? Everybody in here has talent, something they're really good at, right? Hopefully it's real estate, but are you leveraging that talent? Or are you trying to be the master of like 10 different things? And I'll use this example. I learned this really early on. Who in here has read the MREA? 4 people, hands go up. If you haven't read it, you better read it. In the MREA, you know, I wasn't, when I got my license, I was not supposed to hire an admin right away. At least that's what Gary Keller says. 6 months in, I knew that I hated paperwork. And I knew that I made much more money bringing business in than I did sitting down and filling out an agreement of sale, right? Ordering title or whatever it is. So I hired a part-time assistant to help me with all that. It was the best decision I ever made. It allowed me to go out, bring more business in, more face-to-face with customers that became clients, right? So for me, I knew that where my strengths were. So I kind of stayed in that lane, right? Instead of like trying to do transactions, trying to do paperwork, trying to do sales, marketing, and so on, right? And sometimes it can feel like, well, I can't afford to hire someone to do it. And I always say, always think outside the box, especially now with the way the market is right now, right? Me personally, I've never, and I'm a real estate investor, I've never seen a market like this. Right? It's from owning a market center to actually being a licensed agent, I've never seen a market like this. So we have to think and act differently. Right? Commit to 80-20 principle. What does that mean?
Focus on your highest thing activity.
Focus on your highest producing activities. Okay, yep. Yes,
80% of what you get is based on 20%.
say it louder.
80% of what you get is based on what you do.
Absolutely. Right? So if I believe that the key to being really successful is being around the right people. Right? And Gary Keller always talks about the 5 people that you're. So think about like the 5 influential people that are around you, whether it be your partner, husband, wife, whatever, right? Who are the 5 people that are most influential towards you? I know for me, I can tell you exactly who those 5 people are, because I'm very purposeful in making sure that I'm surrounded by those types of people. And if I'm going to be able to commit to the 80-20 principle, I have a lot of goals. I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish, right? So it's really important to me. So just that 80-20 principle, keeping that in mind, is that how can I leverage out all the things that I don't want to do or need to do in order to produce the 80% that we just talked about, right? And that's where the 20% of effort producing 80% of the results come from, is being able to leverage that out. I'm big on leverage. Not taking advantage of leverage, right? Doing it the right way. Does that make sense? Moving from E to P, what does that mean? I always say move from easy to pain, right? But it's moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful. What does that mean? No?
Moving from your natural style to a drawn out list of things to do.
I love it.
Spelled out list.
Yep. So when you're going from entrepreneurial, which is easy, right? These are things that you're already doing, right? There's a ceiling that you're going to hit. And where the pain comes in is breaking through that ceiling, doing things that maybe aren't comfortable for you, right? You guys all heard the term get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? I live in that state all the time. I like being uncomfortable. I like it. When I played sports, I was always the guy, give me the ball, right? That was just me, my mentality. But when you go from just day to day of just the normal things that you do, and then you're not able to break through the ceiling, that's where a lot of the problems happen. When you can break through that ceiling and you realize there's so much more out there for you, and you start getting uncomfortable, then you learn like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I did that. How many here were not sure about, you got a job, you were kind of scared? It's like, oh, the unexpected, you didn't know what to expect. I'm meeting new people, I'm not sure. We've all been there, right? But then once you got into it, you're like, oh, it's not that bad, right? It's no different than, having your own, you guys are all independent contractors for the most part, right? So right now, the way the market is right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. So it's going from, that easy to that pain part of it is really where the growth is. 4, make being learning based the foundation of your action plan. What does that mean?
Not being complacent, just being open-minded and knowing that no matter how good you are, you're always looking to improve and looking at people who are ahead of you.
Absolutely, I love it. One more. What else could it mean? Education and training right now have never been more important. Never been more important. Who was at the regional roadshow yesterday? So tell me, for those of you that were there, how good was that?
Fantastic.
Matt is awesome. What a bunch of great information. That booklet that you guys got. I mean, you can utilize that information in listing presentations, buyer consults. It's just a wealth of information in there. Really good stuff. So that's just like one small little piece, right? But the education and training and what you can learn and taking that and actually implementing it into your business is huge. And by the way, I usually start off with this, but I forgot. When you guys take notes, there's 2 ways to take notes. You take notes and you make notes. And what do I mean by that? Is you actually, if you have a pen and paper, or you have a journal book or whatever, is take a line right down the center, take notes on the left side and make notes on the right side, which means every bullet point that you write when you take your notes, just take the things that are important. Then what are you going to take? How are you going to take action on it? So whenever I'm in the room with Gary or Mark or whoever, is I just take the things that I don't write down verbatim, you know, what they say. I just take keywords and then I put a little arrow next to it on the right side is how I'm going to implement that into my business or into my team or into my agents when they get back or whatever it is. It's a great way to actually take notes. How many here have taken notes? Then it's crumpled up in your duffel bag or you never use it again. 1,000,000 times, right? But when you actually take action on it, you're more susceptible to actually utilizing that information and implementing it into your business. Because if you guys don't take action on anything that I say here today, there's no reason for me to be here. So at least 1 or 2 things, promise yourself that you're going to take it and you're actually going to implement it into your business. Make sense? 5, remove your limiting beliefs. Oh, this is big. My wife needs help on this one. What does that mean?
Take a look at the beliefs that you have that are holding you back from growing and excelling in the industry.
Absolutely. One more. Yes,
When you think you can, you will.
there's no question. It really is a lot of it mindset, right? Now, I know that I'll never be a singer because I'm a horrible singer. Okay. That's just not a limiting belief, that's just reality. But there are certain things like this market right now. I'm never going to make any money in this market. That's a limiting belief, right? This is actually a lot of opportunity right now. I cannot wait to buy more properties in this market right now, as soon as they become available. But I'm really big on this because this actually holds back a lot of people. And a lot of it is just mindset. Because there's 2 versions of yourselves, right? There's the person who you are, and then there's the person who the perfect person of yourself, perfect version of yourself, right? How close from who you are right now to that person can you be? And it's just those small little movements, like that 1% better every day. It's that mindset and not erasing those limiting beliefs to help you get there. And trust me, when you can start focusing on yourself and your mindset and creating really good habits and getting better 1% better every day, it compounds and it adds. It will show up in your life. It'll show up in your business. It'll show up in the people around you. I promise you. And the last one is be accountable. My favorite. What's that mean? What's that?
Do what you say you're gonna
Do
do.
what you say you're gonna do. Absolutely. What does accountability mean to you right now? in your business, in your personal life, what does accountability mean?
Be all in.
Be all in? No matter what?
Follow up, right?
But what does no matter what mean, right?
Follow up.
Follow up? Yep. What else?
Be transparent with your progress, and if you're not where you need to be, don't be scared to ask someone who can help you get there.
Oh my God, it's a good one. Right?
I'm
if
working
you-
on it right now, that's why.
Yeah. No, if you don't ask, you don't get. Right? I'll never forget this during COVID, 2020. I was doing a coffee with Chris before it came a podcast. And I was just doing a weekly call with my agents. Because we weren't obviously in Philadelphia was really bad. We were just separate, right? We we're all home. And so this coffee with Chris was good because I would bring up different topics and we would get on the call and just kind of talk about it. And I had asked Mark King, I said, I want to have Mark King on my call as my guest. And I was like, I didn't know him as well as I do now. And he was like, of course. So again, I was like, if he said yes, let me get Jason, right? So Jason, I asked him, he's like, yeah, of course. Right? Again, it goes back to, if you don't ask, how do you know? Right? So being accountable really holds a lot of people back. And myself as a leader, if I don't hold my team accountable, it's not to micromanage, make no mistake. It's to help them get to where they're supposed to be or want to be. That's why who in here does a GPS and 411? Again, right? Holding yourself accountable to doing that, right? Filling the 411 on a weekly basis. And then doing a GPS, like we're in the 2023, but who does business planning in October, right? Or November in 2022 for 2023? If you don't have a roadmap to know where you're going, how do you know where you're going to get there? That's why like the 411 of the GPS is so important. Is it a pain in the neck to do? Yes. Do I like filling it out? No. I have to do two. I have to do one for the region. I have to do one for myself for the market center. One business, one personal. But again, I look at it all the time. It reminds me of like what I should be doing. I hold myself accountable to it. So how can I coach and train other people if I'm not actually living it myself? Right? Because then I'm just fugazi, right? I'm a fake. And that's not who I am. So it's really important just to be accountable to yourself first, right? And then holding other people accountable. Really, really important. Any questions so far? Yeah. I don't need that.
Chris, I had a question.
Yeah.
Just regarding your personal journey with limiting beliefs. When you were first starting out as an agent, was there a limiting belief where you feel like you had to get rid of that and you started really seeing progress in your business?
100%. I'll never forget the two guys that own the Rematch brokerage. I was the expert in hospitality, but I was now a rookie in real estate. Even though I had a few investment properties, I didn't know like the sales part of it, sales side of it. So I kind of battled with that of like putting it out there on social media, like what I was doing now. It's kind of embarrassed a little bit, to be honest with you, because I've been doing hospitality for so long and now transitioned to a completely different career. But what I didn't realize, or I should have realized, was that there's a lot of people that love and care about you and want to see you do well, no matter what you're doing. So the brokers had told me, listen, remember this, you may not be the expert, but be professional and you'll be fine. And that stuck with me. As soon as he told me that, like a light switch, and then I immediately went on social media. I put a big post out about it. I let the world know, but don't be a secret agent, right? I was a secret agent for a little while. And not until I talked to them that they made me realize, put yourself out there. Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So a powerful perspective. How would you change? What would you do that you are waiting to get done because you think you won't be here forever? What 3 things would you like to accomplish in your life? This actually goes into what I was talking about before with like your GPS and 411. How many times do you talk about, I'm going to do this, and I'm gonna do that, and I want this and I want that, but you don't get it.
Mhm.
Right? Because there's no roadmap to get to there. I have a goal of owning another market center within another year. Right? So what does that mean? How do I get that opportunity? Well, it means I have to still keep crushing what I'm doing right now to get the opportunities. But two, I have to look for other, it's like when you want to buy investment property, I spend an hour every day looking at different investment properties. Does it make sense? Same thing, if I want to buy a market center, I have to look at different market centers and see where the opportunity is. Right? So what 3 things would you like to accomplish in your life? And I mean, you guys can print this out, you can get it online, but I would really take this serious and kind of write it down and then figure out back into it how you're gonna get there. Yes,
I also think that this question is scary for people because I feel like they're just going to the end goal. Like, what do you want to accomplish in life? I want to be a millionaire. Okay, but instead of like,
Yeah.
or like, I want to lose 75 pounds. Okay, well, how about you start with like 5 pounds or like 2 pounds or like.
Yep.
The small goals, I think, are just as important as the big, like, you have to do small, you have to walk before you run.
you're spot on. It's no different than if you want to run a marathon,
Right,
right? Run a mile first.
right. I
Right.
feel like people are so afraid, or they're just so afraid of no.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you try it and it didn't work. Well, now you know that didn't work, so now you do this path. Like, they're
Exactly.
so afraid, like, like you went into a different industry and you're like, I know that didn't work now, so what do I need? So
Absolutely.
now get back on track. Like, the no shouldn't be, yes, it's scary, but it shouldn't be the thing that takes you off course.
That's the EDP though, the easy to theme,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
It's, the easy part is what you're familiar with.
Right.
You're so familiar with doing things a certain way. As we've grown up and, we're so used to, it's ingrained in us.
Yeah, the way mom and dad did it.
Correct,
Mhm.
right? Mom and dad, the typical save money, put it to the stock
Yeah.
market,
Don't
right?
touch it.
Don't touch it, right? Instead of like, for me at least, that's the way my parents
Mhm.
raised us. And it was not until I started getting into real estate where I was like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna flip that one.
Yeah, things
Right.
change.
Absolutely,
Can't be afraid of change.
correct. So I love that, absolutely. Any other questions on that? Reality check. What is your goal? How are you doing with your goal? How do you feel about it? What will your future look like if you do not achieve your goal? How does it make you feel when when you read those right now, where you are right now? Where do you think there's some holes or where do you think you need improvement?
Taking action.
Taking action.
I was gonna say, I love these questions because for me, what I wanna work on when I review my 411 is asking the right questions. Because sometimes I review what I did last week, but it's really asking, okay, well, how do you feel about where you are? It's not, okay, well, I hit this, well, I was kind of close to this, but what are the questions? I don't know, Chris, if you have any questions that you ask yourself when you review for your week that challenge you to really hold yourself accountable to your future week? There are any
Yeah.
questions like these?
I think for me, I've always been a long game type person. So I don't need instant gratification. I know that if I keep doing small little things every day, I'll get to where I want to get to. So for me, it's more about my legacy. If we're talking about monetary wise, I'm hyper focused on generational wealth. So for me, and sometimes to a fault, because I've learned how to say no more, which is good, to the right things. And I'm very careful what I say yes to. So if someone asks me, hey, do you want to be an investor in this? Okay, what does that mean? The money part of it, I'm really not worried about that part. I mean, it is important, what's your ROI on it, but also how much time is going to take away from the other things that I'm doing. Right? So that's, for me, when I look at these, I look like long-term, like the generational wealth part of it, the legacy part of it is really what's important to me. And then I back into it. And that's kind of where the GPS comes in, right? In the 401, or it's supposed to. Does that make sense? This one right here, right? How do you feel about it? That one kind of like hits home because we all know when we're failing, we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. It's very easy. See, like, if you go on a diet or you want to eat healthier And then, you know, you've been doing good for 3 days and all of a sudden. You see Popeyes and you stop over there and you get like a chicken sandwich or whatever, right? And you know it's wrong, right? But it's that craving. You get it, you eat it, and then afterwards you feel like crap, right? So again. When you can come to terms with how you feel and say, you know what, in this case, I screwed up, I shouldn't have eaten that, I'm gonna get back on again, right? And it's coming to terms with your feelings and understanding it, and then moving forward, instead of just dwelling on it and beating yourself up, right? That's half the battle. And then what will your future look like if you do not achieve your goal? What does that mean for you? If you have a family, what does that mean for your wife, husband, partner, kids? What does it mean for them? Because I know for me, if I don't do what I'm supposed to be doing, I feel like I'm robbing them. Right? And it has to be that important to you. So far, any ahas?
Yes,
Yes,
I have to get up earlier.
everyone says it.
Yeah.
Listen, no one says that you have to like, I'm up at 4:30. No one says you have to get up at 4:30 in the morning. My wife says I'm sick. But by 12 o'clock, most of my day's done. Like I tackle all the hard things first. I get all that out of the way first. And the rest of the day is meetings, or for me, that's the easy stuff. The stuff I don't want to do is what I get done first. So in all your cases, or most of you, is lead generation, right? We talked about this in Austin like 3 weeks ago, about back to the basics, about lead generating 2 to 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then not having the browser up with Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok on it while you're making calls, right? Or not being distracted. If you know today's Tuesday, if you know that tomorrow you have to lead gen for 2 hours and you're not prepared and you don't have your list of people that you're going to call, then you have to get up tomorrow, 8 o'clock, say 8 to 10, you're going to lead gen. You spend a half hour, 45 minutes just getting ready. You really only have an hour and 15 minutes. And that's if you don't get distracted, which you will, because you know you're going to answer a phone or a text, or you're going to have social media up. That's just in general. This is what I see, I know to be true. So how much time you lose, a half hour every time you get distracted. So you're really down to what, half hour, 45 minutes? You're robbing yourself. I know for me, when I was the team leader, making calls and trying to recruit and bring in talent, I put a note on my door, and the note said, please do not disturb, I'm building your profit share. Right? And I would spend 2 to 2.5 hours, and I was like prepared and ready. And I would cold call. This is like in the beginning, I didn't really know a lot of people in the city. And I would just cold call, and I wouldn't stop until I got the amount of appointments I needed to get. You got to do the same thing with getting clients. It's no different. Just a question, how many calls are you willing to make before you give up? Because you have to make more calls to close. And same thing with team leaders. You have to make more calls now. 5 years ago, you could make 10 calls and get 2 or 3 appointments. You have to make 50 calls now to get 2 appointments. It's just the way it is. Different market, different environment, different world you live in today. Any other ahas? Yes,
Your morning makes your day.
100%. There's no question. I didn't have a great morning this morning. My tire blew out on the way here. I put 2 fires out my way here. But still, I have to be here. I have to show up, right? That can't dictate how the rest of my day is going to be, because I'm here, breathing, healthy, right? As we all know, things could always be a lot worse. So that's just the way my outlook on life is. And if you let your morning rob you of the rest of your day, you're doing yourself a disservice, because that can carry over to the next day, or the week, or the month, right? Any other house? One more.
Taking notes and making notes.
Love it. Love it. And again, most of you won't do it, or maybe some of you will. That's just the reality of it. And it works. I promise you it works because you'll actually go back to your notes as a reference. Because you've actually strategically have written it down a certain way in your brain, you comprehend it more and you actually take action on it. So there's a book, I forget now, the author is Jeff Quick, Kwik. And he's the one that I saw it from. He was on a podcast with Ed Milet. Really, really good. That's where I got it from. Yeah.
It's also, it's called the Cornell method of note taking. I don't know if anyone had heard that.
Okay.
before.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so it's like you create your notes on the one side and then you think about how you're going to implement it
Yeah.
and what it means to you. And at the bottom
Mhm.
is a summary.
Yes,
So then so it's Cornell method. of
love
note
it.
taking.
So I just learned
For
something.
each
Yeah.
chapter they create.
Yeah,
So
for,
then when you're studying for
Yeah.
the test, you just read that.
yes,
Yeah.
for that,
To go back.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all just learned something.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's always good. I'm not just here to teach, but I'm also here to learn as well, right? So when you have that mindset coming in, it's always good to hear things like that. So now we're gonna go through each one of them. Self-mastery, possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make you the master of you. When you commit to achieving self-mastery, you know your goals, know your strengths and weaknesses. We talked a little bit about that, what you're good at and what you're not good at. And if you're not good at it, what do?
Find someone to do it.
Find someone to do it, leverage it out, right? Now, lead generation, here's a great example. If you absolutely hate lead generation, hate it, find someone who's really good at it. And make sure you can pay them well, right? Know how to work with both your strengths and weaknesses to reach your goals. I think that's a big one too, right? The balancing act. Who in here has read Outliers?
Unbelievable one.
Such a great book. Such a great book. And really, what this book is about is there's two sides to your life, right? There's the side of kind of like your successes and the opportunities that you've gotten to get you where you are. And the other part of it is your genetics of kind of like what makes you who you are, right? We just talked about before about growing up with your parents and being set in your ways, right? The way you do things and why you do them and being able to change some of those things. I know for me, there's some things in me that I thought I'd never change. Not that they were terrible. It's just that I need to be a better person. So I need to change some things. And just having an open mind to be able to do that. Great, great book. The possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make one the master of a subject. And again, when you combine the daily habits, the mindset, the education, the training, that in itself right there is going to get you to where you need to be. Put the pieces together. I always laugh when I see this because I'm really good friends with John Clyde and I see him on here. He's like, yeah, man, I hate that video. He's a great guy. He wrote a book called Leaving Six Figures. He was a state trooper in New Jersey. Retired early, took an early retirement because he was doing real estate, flipping houses at the same time. Is now the RD for Greater PA, divisional leader. Where he's gotten to is just unbelievable. We're not going to watch the video. Sorry, John. Achieve goals through self-mastery. List 3 obstacles you think might hinder your achievement of the goal you wrote. Consult and discuss with your partner so you are sure to dig deep. It's not always the most obvious choice. 2, share with your partner what strengths you feel you have that will help you overcome each obstacle. Who in here shares their goals or what they desire or obstacles with a partner, with a friend, husband, wife, whatever? Right? The biggest disservice you could do to yourself is not being open to discussing those things, right? Or having someone who's a sounding board for it. Makes all the difference in the world. And what good is failing or being successful if you don't want to share with someone that you care about or cares about you, right? What weaknesses might hinder you from overcoming the obstacles? How can you conquer them? Brainstorm with your partner. My partner in my business, he and I talk like every day. He's not a very good, matter of fact, I recruited him, he was an independent broker. And I recruited him, and at the time he was 40 agents. And he was doing, I think, 175 million. So now he's got 65 agents and close to 400 million he's doing right now. And he and I talk every day about how can we get better? How can we add more value to the brokerage? Personal things that we're struggling with, whatever it is, it's a good relationship. Partnerships are tough, whether it be marriage or anything else. Like it can be hard. Are the obstacles movable? Is there something you can master that will help? What does that mean? Are the obstacles movable? Exactly. Can you overcome them? I have 2 kids, so my son's older, and I tell him it's okay making mistakes. We all make them, we fail forward, right? Just don't make a big mistake, right? That's going to set you back really far. That's why it's good to talk about it, and say, because when kids, my son's 16, when they're that age, they want to like keep things themselves. And, we've ingrained in him to we're always here for you no matter what. If you're out at a party and you have a drink or something, just call me, call your mother, right? So it's the same thing in business. If you have a partner in business, being transparent, being able to have those tough conversations, you have to have them. We'll keep going there. Commit to 80-20 principle. There is a pattern of predictable imbalance in life. It's called the 80-20 principle. Well, I hate to ask this one. Who read the MREI? MREA and MREI, get a highlighter and highlight. Because MREA, it took me 3 times to read that, and so I really kind of start to really understand it. MREI, same thing. But definitely get a highlighter and highlight 2 awesome books, especially now. Sorry, Jonathan. Jonathan came from, he was KW, EXP for a while, a really big team, and then came back a few years ago. The big rocks come first. What are the big rocks? Everybody know the story? Right? Focus on the big rocks. You guys have all heard that. So that's kind of like, if you take this compared to like what your day looks like. So in your day, what are your big rocks in your day? For me, the morning are my big rocks, right? I get all the things I don't want to do or that are most important done early because I'm most effective in the morning. I knew that if I didn't work out in the morning, I would never get it done at night or in the afternoon. So I know that I need to get it done in the morning. It has to be that because that's where I fit it in, right? That's where I time block it. So you got to figure out, first of all, what your big rocks are, right? What are the pebbles and what's the sand, right? In your day and what's getting in the way of it. And I see this all the time. Even sometimes I shake my head at some of the really big producers in my brokerage, how they're still in business. Because I coach them and I'll say, let me see your P&L. And we'll go through the P&L. Right? Why didn't you spend money on this? And why did you spend money on that? And you should be spending money on this. And some of the answers I get, they're just not truly business people. And they could be making so much more money. Their volume looks good. Their units look good. But who cares if you're not making money? Right? That's why Gary, whenever he has people at Founder Meeting or Mega Camp, and he has them on stage, he now asks for their P&L prior to going on stage. Because prior, he wasn't. And some of these teams were negative. They were in the red. Right? So now he wants to make sure that they're running a profitable business before he has them come on stage and talk about how to build a big business. Right? We talked about this, 80% of the results. Again, right? This make more money, time with family, more organized. This all right here is time. Like, how do I get time back? Right? Because if I can get some more time back, It's more time with family, maybe more time for another opportunity, whatever it is, right? Who in here has read the one thing? Not a lot of hands being raised in here. It's an easy read, right? Small book. There's so many good things in there. If you go to onething.com, there's some things you can download from there. You can get download 4-in-1, GPS in there, which I like to use, are really good. But it's a really, really good book. So if you haven't read it, you definitely need to read it. All right. Who knows the difference between a success list and a to-do list? What are some examples of a to-do list?
It's like the sand and the pebbles in your work day, so like. Like attending a meeting could be considered like a pebble, depending on what type of meeting it is, or looking at email and stuff like that, like, I don't know, differentiating those things is what.
It's a great analogy. I mean, like, we've looked at meetings that we've had, like we have a meeting with our leadership team, we have a couple meetings a week, but we've shortened them. Because we figured out, come prepared to the meeting, let's be purposeful about our time, and let's go from an hour to a half hour. Just got a half hour back, right? So it's really important to make sure that when you're doing a success list and a to-do list, that the things that, to your point, like what are your big rocks and what are the pebbles in the sand, right? And that getting your dry cleaning is not a success list, right? It doesn't go on there, right? Those are two things. So what are the things for you that are going to be on your success list? That's what you got to figure out.
Lead generation, time blocking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? Health. I think it's really, really big. Taking care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. Right? Really, really important. I'm a big stickler on health. This is a good, I'm going to go off script a little bit on this one. This is something I do with my top 20% of my agents, and I do with my leadership team, is write down all the things that you do during the day. From start to finish. I don't care what it is, right? And then go back and circle the things that are purposeful. They're going to get you to where you need to be. And then look at the ones that you didn't circle and see where you need to pivot. Or what needs to change. Right? And the more you can ask yourself questions, it's almost like in third party almost. Like you play mind games with yourself. You know, in Bold we used to say this, we can't say anymore, that drunk monkey like you on your shoulder, right? It is that imaginary person that's on your shoulder telling you that you know you shouldn't do it, right? But you do it anyway. So for me, I like putting down all the things I do during the day and like, all right, where did I miss the boat? I shouldn't have done that. I should spend some more time on this. Right? So oh, here we go. 4-in-1. Everyone loves talking about this. If you don't have, even if you have a 4-in-1, you know, get with the leadership team, get with Matt and schedule a session and kind of, hey, here's my 4-in-1, take a look at it. Because not everyone fills them out correctly. I've gotten 4-in-1s and it was really bad. You know, and I said, okay, well, this is how you should do it. And there's more clarity around it. Because sometimes when you look at it, you'll put your 1-year goal, then your 1-month goal, and then the 4 weeks, and people felt all 4 weeks in the beginning of the month. No, you can't do that, right? Because things change. So you fill out your first week first, and whatever you didn't complete in the first week, you carry it over to the second week, and so on, right? So just, again, even if it's painful, which it will be, and you don't do one, I strongly recommend that you do a 4-in-1. Strongly recommend, both personal and professional.
Chris, can I just
Yeah.
add to that? for everyone who hasn't done a 411 consistently with someone, just so you know, Fred does a session every morning on Monday morning at 10 a.m. to help you
Gotcha.
start your week. And then 5:30 p.m. And anyone who's from Sparta, you can plug in over Zoom Monday at 5:30. But the whole point is if you're doing that 4 weeks in a row, you have someone who knows what your goal was and someone who saw whether you actually followed through or not. And if you do that 4 weeks consistently, by the end of those 4 weeks, your schedule will be different. Because it's different when you're talking to someone about what you're doing and you're held accountable to it.
Yeah.
So make use of that in your calendar. We put it on Monday for a reason for you guys.
No, absolutely. And there's on YouTube, theonething.com, there's videos that they do on how to fill out a GPS in a 411 as well, as another resource. Any questions on that? So here's an example of a 411. So this, now, you'll see different versions, right? The version I have is personal and professional. This one's got job, business, personal, financial, and then personal. Right? And then 24 listings sold, 18 bought in this example, 60 quality listings, 150 listing appointments, right? Then you go down. And then how many do you need per month? 5 listings, 2 listings sold, 2 buyers in escrow, right? And then you go down to your weekly activities on here. That's how it's broken down, right? You do the same thing for business, same thing for personal, financial, and then same thing for personal. Make sense? Do you think you could do this in your head and not write it down? Hell no. Not a chance, which is why you write it down and you keep track of it. Blank one. Oh God, this is so good. People think there's never enough time to be successful, but there is when you time block it. If we have time, maybe I could look up my laptop and or I probably do it from my phone. Is show you my calendar and how I color code it, I time block. And I have meanings behind how I color code things. It's all in my mind, right? It tells me how important certain things are versus other things. I'm so used to it now. If it's not on my calendar, it's truly, like Diana Kokoska said, it doesn't exist. And so if for some reason my admin or if I forget to put something on the calendar, it's my fault because I'll never remember it, right? So time blocking is, I teach a class on this. And it could be 3 hours, but I've shortened it to 2 hours. And it's really, really good because time blocking is so important. Here we go, 4 keys to time blocking, successful time blocking. 1, be consistent enough to set the habit. We talked about habits, right? 2, be thoughtful and purposeful about the items you list on your calendar. Going back to habit in your calendar is the day before, I always look at my next day and review it. Because when you do that, if something goes off in your head that says, oh, you know what, I forgot to put that in there. Or I didn't realize I had that tomorrow. That you don't wake up and it's the oh crap moment, right? So it's really important to review your day prior to the next day. Be thoughtful and purposeful about the items you list on your calendar. Again, just be really mindful of the stuff that you put on your calendar because of your time, right? Always time block for the big rocks. We talked about that. And 4, if you erase, you must replace. So I'll give you an example. You lead gen on Monday. Your goal is to get 1 listing, 1 buyer appointment. You got 2 listing and 3 buyer appointments during those 2 hours. God bless you, you're awesome. Does that mean that you don't do lead gen on Tuesday? No, right? So if I have a meeting that cancels, the first thing that comes into my mind is, how can I make good use of that time now that I got back? Where can I use that? Right? It's not just, oh, let me go on TikTok for an hour or whatever it is. Right? Oh, TikTok. Refer to your weekly goals in your 4-in-1. Time block what a typical day looks like if you are to achieve your goals for the week. The world doesn't know your purpose and your priorities and isn't responsible for them. You are. What does it mean to build a bunker? the time block.
So you can stay in a location and not have distractions and
Exactly. 2, store provisions. What's that mean?
water, snacks.
A fish sandwich, maybe. Who else on that?
Be prepared.
Power board,
What's that?
mini fridge, power board.
It could be actually.
Be prepared.
Be prepared. Yep, absolutely. 3, sweep for minds. What does that mean? This is an easy one.
Distractions.
Like what? I just talked about them earlier. It could be, yeah, it could be any distraction. Exactly, turn off notifications, absolutely. 4, enlist support. What's that mean?
If you're struggling.
Do not disturb.
Yeah, I mean, if you're struggling, right, find help, right? How's on that? Quick, 2. Yes,
When you're looking for support, it doesn't necessarily have to be a person, it could be a tool that, you know, let's say it is TikTok for an hour, you put an app or you put something on your phone that kind of blocks you out from those apps.
Yep.
Or blocks certain things like from getting pop-ups from your email or anything like that.
Yeah.
And kind of making the people around you aware, like, accomplish. And I take this as like if I were at another job, like retail, I gotta like take this as I'm at a different physical location. I could really use your support with, you know, building my business.
love that, love it. Another example too is, I was coaching this agent in my market center. She was having a really hard time, well, getting leads, but also she's like, I want to do an event, but I'm not sure like what to do. So I said, all right, where do you go like every morning? You go get coffee somewhere? She's like, oh yeah, I go to this great coffee place. I see the owner. Okay, did you say hi? No. I said, okay, well, introduce yourself, right? And then we kind of went into what she could do. And I said, go to the owner and say, introduce yourself, tell her what you do, who you're with, and that I like to send a bunch of people here because I love this place. In return, I'm looking for someone that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, and I would love a referral. Can we be partners in this? So she went, it took her, I gave her like a deadline. So she had like 5 days to go do it. So I saw her the next week. I was like, did you do it? She's like, no, like, I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you 2 more days. But she went and did it. And we also talked about doing an event there. She's like, oh yeah, I see people doing events in there. I'm like, well, you could do an event too. And it could be for free. We'll get it sponsored. And so she went in there, did her whole thing. And she actually texted me yesterday and she got a lead from the owner, which is great. So, which means is when you start looking at things differently, right? Things change, right? And for her, she didn't realize that she could do that. How many more people right now, especially in this market right now, are not looking at things differently and being more creative and thinking outside the box, right? Because there's a million realtors, right? We all know this. But what separates yourself from everyone else? And that's the way, like, when I get up as a leader, as a person, is how can I separate myself from everyone else, right? And it's doing those things that people don't want to do or just not doing it all.
Do you ever hear of those days? They're called yes days.
Yes,
A lot of times you do with your kids,
Yeah.
you know, like ice cream for breakfast or whatever. So, but you can apply that into business. So like, instead of saying like, oh, well, I want to go talk to the manager of that place.
Mhm.
Instead of saying no, just yes, your answer is yes, and see what happens.
absolutely. I love it. I also have,
And you can have ice cream for breakfast.
you get it. Kids have.
I know.
You know, my daughter's younger, but she's playing basketball and she learned now because of repetition that when she couldn't really shoot the basket really well. And she's ready to say it and she's like, I can't, and she goes, no, daddy, I can do it,
Yeah.
right? And so now it's, I'm getting a program in her, we are, that you can do it. I tell her, I don't want to hear it, don't want to hear it, right? And it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, E to P. This says entrepreneurial and purposeful, but it's really easy to paint, right? Because getting purposeful is painful. It can be painful. We're going through, as owners in a market center, a lot of pain right now. Because we're not as profitable as we used to be, right? Because the market has changed. In some ways, we have to change the way we do some things, right? Because when you're successful with sales, usually it hides some deficiencies. Right? Past couple of years, we've done really well. Right? And now things are really hard. And the things that you shouldn't have been doing really show up in a big way. That makes sense to everyone, especially in your business, where you should be spending money, where you shouldn't be spending money. Things you should be doing and that aren't doing. Right? Sorry, Wendy. I love Wendy too. She's awesome. All right. So step one, write your goals. We talked about that. Focus on your 20%. I got no time for anything unless it supports my GPS or supports my legacy. Got no time for it. And no offense to people, is if they don't add value in my life or people around me, I don't want to be around them. That's just the way it is. There's people that have lots of drama and excuses. I don't want to be around it. And it's again, it's no offense to maybe nice people. It's just not for me. Right? That's why my circle, I know a lot of people, but my circle is kind of small, right? And that's on purpose. Find strategic options. Ask, how can this be done? Are there different, better ways to do it? Again, we talked about asking really good questions. I have 50 really good questions that I'll send you that you can share with everyone else. From Gary, from Mark, and my own that I've compiled. Really great questions to ask, right? You want good answers, ask great questions. Look for models to follow. Attend training that teaches you how to get where you want to go. Identify mentors, people who have done it. Sounds so simple, but oftentimes people that want to get to a certain place don't hang around with people that have done it already. Makes no sense to me. I'm okay, like, if I want to learn how to do something, I'm going to go find someone who does it at a high level. And I'm going to say, I'll take you to lunch, buy a drink, coffee, just so I can pick your brain, right? I guarantee you that there's people that in here in this room right now that are not living up to their potential or not doing the buying that they want to do, that they could be doing if they found someone locally that's doing it at a high level, right? And I don't know why, but people are afraid to ask. We talked about that before. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? Simple, but yet a lot of people don't do it. Install systems. Time block. Practice scripts. I still practice scripts. And part of it is when I'm training team leaders and OPs is it helps me. Even though I'm role playing with them, it's still helping me. It still refreshes me, right? Create checklists. Make sure the systems you install work consistently and efficiently. Are you not using a CRM or are you old school and still using a spreadsheet? Right? Are your models and systems, are they up to date and are they working efficiently? Right? And 5, bring in accountability. Measure what you do. Who in here measures what they do? Because if you don't, then how do you know it's working? Right? And it's kind of like that cliche of like, look at yourself in the mirror and what do you see? Right? Sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror. Right? But it's just being honest with yourself. And both in your business and whatever goals you have personally, it's just really important. I make wine, so for me, I love wine, but sometimes I drink too much of it. And you know, when I do, is that imaginary person over here telling me, like, cut it out, Chris. You know, I have that. It's like instilled in me, and it's kind of like, all right, I can take a step back, and you know, it's just how I am. And not that it doesn't become a problem. It's just in my own mind. It's like if I want to be healthier, you know, drinking a bottle of wine a night is not a good thing, right? Having a glass or two, I'm good with it, right? So it's just having that mindset to know that, hey, you know what? take a step back from it, because even like reading and podcasts and stuff can be like too much, right? Like, my wife would tell me sometimes, you're out of your mind, like, what are you doing? You know, sometimes I'm just like listening too much to podcasts or whatever, like, I need to take a step away and be present for my family, right? So it's not just like wine or alcohol or anything else, right? Keep track with your 401 action goal worksheet and having it, oh, it's so good. Have an accountability partner. Someone who cares enough about you that says, get back on track. Because you're screwing up. Because I care that much about you. I have a guy who's a maths coach and was another KW brokerage in Philadelphia. Really good guy, been in business a long time. And he goes, I see posts of you in the gym and stuff. He's like, I'm trying to get healthier. Can you hold me accountable? You got it. Every morning. Well, he wanted to start at 5 a.m. So at 5 a.m. I would text him, like, get your ass up, let's go. And he, like, 2 days later, he goes, dude, I can't do 5. I'll do 5:45. I'm like, cool, as long as you get there. But there's a couple of days where he's like, he texts me back, he goes, you know what? I love you. He's like, I didn't want to go today because you did that. I went to the gym. Sounds small, but it's really big because that's become a habit now for him. Now, when he doesn't want to go, he like, well, this is good or bad. He sees my face, back up, right? And so it's actually, he's trained himself now to get up and actually go. But having that accountability was really important, right? It was the catalyst for him to like keep on going. So that's why it's important to have an accountability partner. It really, really is. Ahas. You guys in the back can talk too, you know. I need 2. What'd you get from it?
If you don't make any changes, you can't expect any results. If you do the same thing, you're not gonna get anything.
Definition of insanity, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Having a different outlook on a situation or a goal can help you achieve that goal.
No doubt. They can act differently. Love it. Step 4, make being learning based the foundation of your action plan. A learning-based individual is an individual who has made the decision to use effective learning as the foundation piece for their action plan to develop their life. Good news is, you guys are with the right company. Because we do a damn good job with education and training. And what you may not know is that you have the ability, because we have such a great referral network within our ecosystem, is that there are people outside of this market center that are doing things that maybe where you want to be. All you have to do is ask. Right? Go to your leadership and say, hey, who's doing the most listings in a metropolitan type area? Easy to find out. Get the phone number, call the person, set a Zoom call. If they're closer, go meet them, whatever it is. It's thinking outside the box. There's people out there that will absolutely say yes to you and help you. All you have to do is do a little research and ask. Really important. I know for me, when I became OP, I found the 5 top OPs in the country. I met them at Mega Leadership, and then I also had Zoom calls with them. And I came prepared with questions because I want the right answers. It's no different. It's the same thing, right? So no for knowing sake or no for doing sake. What are your thoughts on that? You guys have probably heard that. Good. Exactly right. Take action on it. The other part to that too is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right? And for me, it's about relationships. And you know, our retention is really good in our market center because you know, we really have good relationships with our agents. We care. We spend time with them, we coach them, we bring value to them, right? And That's why, like, for us, we know that about our agents and our leadership team, is that they want to know that they're appreciated. They want to know how much we care about them. And if we don't show up, you're gonna go find somewhere else to go, right? Because our agents are our clients. That's the way we treat our agents. Anything else on this?
It's comforting for me to see this because I personally am not someone who memorizes really well, so I'm not someone who knows everything.
Yep.
But for example, with your training, I won't remember everything you say, but I know that I'm gonna take the thing where I'm gonna act on today. So I feel like this is comforting for me to realize I don't have to know everything to implement small things consistently at a high level.
Absolutely. One thing that Gary told me a couple years ago, he says, if you don't know something, right, either learn to teach it. It's a great way, right, to learn something is to actually teach it. Or find someone who's the expert and then go and stand in the back of the room and let them take over, right? Because you look like a rock star, because you brought someone in who actually knows whatever topic they're teaching. So there's two ways to go about it when you don't know something, either learn it on your own and teach it, or two, find someone who knows it and have them teach it, right? Because not everyone's passionate about teaching everything. I know I'm not, right? I teach a lot of different stuff, but there's certain things that I'm not passionate about. Like this is one of the things that I love teaching because I live a lot of this stuff. Anybody else on that? 4 levels of competency. Unconscious incompetence, we don't know what we don't know. 2, conscious incompetence, we now know what we don't know. Right? So you go from knowledge to wisdom, conscious competence, now we know, becomes a habit, which we talked about, unconscious competence. Now we just do it without thinking about it. This is where we need to be. Repetition, right? It's like when you're doing script practice. As you keep doing it, the better you get, right? The more calls that you make, the better you get, until you get to a point where they can give you any objection, and then boom, it just rolls off. I love it. It's a game for me, right? I love it, love it, love it. I love making calls, setting appointments. It's fun, right? Because the more objections you can give me, right, the more fun we're going to have. And that just comes with practice. And that's kind of the evolution here, right? Is when you don't study your craft, you don't practice what you preach, you don't live it every day, you're always going to stay unconscious incompetence. You're never going to get to this point. Anything on that? It is, right? High achievers reach their goals by making training, education, and self-development the foundational piece of their action plan. What are your thoughts on that?
You always have to learn. You always have to be a student in order to be. where you want to be.
There's a mindset thing around this, right? My team, my real estate team, is when you interview with me or my partner, it's not about splits, right? It's more about what you're going to learn and who you're going to become. And if someone comes in and says, yeah, I want an 80-20 split, you know, and I want a piece of net profit because I did 15 million in production last year. Well, good for you. What are you bringing to the team besides the volume? Right? Because I can get you from 15 to 30 million. Are you more interested in that? Or are you just more interested in just your split? It's just a different mindset, right? That's where like the training, education, self-development become so important long-term rather than just I hate to say it, people leave for checks, right? Whether it be Compass, call a banker, whoever it is, but they don't know they're paying for that check, right? I had a woman, two partners on a team, really successful team. They broke up. One bought the other one out, and then a person who was one of the biggest producers on the team left the team and wanted to go on her own. So she's like, because I had a good relationship with her, she goes, I got an offer from Compass. Cool. Can you send it to me? Sure. Sent me the offer. We met. I took notes and I put together a pro forma on exactly what she was getting from Compass, and exactly what she would be getting from us. She looked at it and she goes, I kind of like did my own little math too. She goes, I appreciate you being so transparent. You're absolutely right. It'd be a huge mistake to notify us. And it was done, easy, she stayed, right? So, but because of my relationship, because of the training and the education, she's staying, you know. I like Mark Brennan too. He's a great guy. These are all great books. I'll give you guys some other books too before you guys leave. If you haven't read Shift, really good book. But I will tell you, some of the stuff in there does not relate to the market we're in right now. Because we've never seen a market like this. One thing. All right. Plan your learning path. Share your goal with your neighbor. You knew about that. Be consciously incompetent. What don't you know? Really commit to learning. Think strategically. Leverage KWU to build your downline. There's so much stuff on KWU that you probably don't even realize. There's so many people that don't use it as a resource. Like I go, even myself, I don't go back to it as much as I should, but I do go back to it. And I'm like, oh my God, I missed this or I missed that, right? So much good stuff in there. We'll skip that. Remove your limiting beliefs. High achievers remove beliefs from their thinking that hold them back. I could have very easily been in a really crappy mood coming here. I've learned in my life that I don't worry about things I have no control over, and my life becomes a lot easier. When you start worrying about things you have no control over, it hijacks your life. Big time. Big time. So when you can start focusing on what matters, right, that you have control over, everything changes. Everything changes. I love Kimber too. Kimber's awesome. Does everybody know who Kimber is? Kim?
It's amazing.
Isn't she great? So Kimber and Bo own market centers down in like Maryland, DC area. She's got some videos too on KWU. She's just an amazing, amazing leader. I love her. She's absolutely awesome. She's also the visionary leader too. All right. Think of a time in your life when you had a limiting belief you needed to remove. I think we can all agree on that. How did you do it? What new successes came your way once you removed the limiting belief? What do you think? Someone give me an example that you had a limiting belief and then you kind of flipped the script on it.
I'll be transparent. When I was working on getting my goal of appointments, Matt, who's our team leader, I don't know if you can hear this, but Matt is really good at pushing you to do something that is in line with your goals, whether or not you think you can do it.
Yeah.
And so when he told me, well, you can actually get to this faster, let's increase your number of appointment goals. And I was thinking, Matt, I feel like I'm not even hitting the other one. Why would I grow it? And he's like, no, once you set that, let's put a plan in place. And if you're not hitting it, let's have an open conversation. And I think when he did that, it showed me that, oh, okay, so it's not about being perfect. It's still my goal, whether or not I'm hitting it, but it's okay to talk about, okay, let's work together on getting me there.
Absolutely.
And now I'm always stopping by his office and telling him, okay, Matt, this is what I'm stuck on, help me. And I feel like just him encouraging me, it opened up that conversation for the messy journey in the middle. And now that I see this, I'm like, oh, I can actually do a lot more than I thought. I just have to be okay with the messiness. I'm fine with that. So I think
So great.
that
And
conversation.
it's so true though. I mean, that's an example of accountability too, right? And then another example of you asking for help, being able, because imagine if you just didn't go in there, or Matt wasn't the type of person that was approachable, that you could go in and talk to about that. It's really important, right? Good stuff. I love it. I'll give you an example. When I was in hospitality, I worked like 70 to 90 hours a week. It's funny when I have people that come up to me and say, hey, I got some extra money. I want to go buy a restaurant. I was like, cool. Here's what you do. Hey, all the cash you have, no, put it in a duffel bag or a suitcase. Get on the Jersey Turnpike, open the window and throw it out. Right, because it is so, especially today, so hard, knock on wood, I did good in the restaurant business, but I had some really hard times too. Like not making payroll and being able to make payroll, where's it coming from, like some really hard weeks. And I wanted to replace myself because I got to a point where I was working all those hours, I didn't have a lot of time. And I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't find someone to replace me. And that's why I was like, I'm just selling, you know, and I sold them. And not until I got to really, honestly, I got to KW where I really learned how to leverage time and learn how to time block properly, and all the other tools and models that I've learned have got me to the point now where it's about the journey. It really is. You know, a lot of things that I did back then have definitely helped me to where I am right now. So I wouldn't trade it for the world, right? But again, there's a time in my life where I had a limiting belief where I didn't think I'd ever be able to replace myself. Now I can't wait to replace myself. I'm already looking for my replacement as OP, right? Because I'm looking for the next opportunity. You know, and for you guys that are, if you guys are independent agents and don't have a team, if you want to have a team, all right, what's next? What do I need to do next in order to start that team? Right? Not group. Gary talked about this like a month ago in Austin, where you have individuals and then you have a group and then you have a team. Does this work?
Yes.
So kind of like this. So you have individuals, you have a group, and then you have a team. So you're an individual, independent agent, individual on your own. Do you think you have the most leverage? And it's okay, there's nothing wrong with being an individual agent. There's lots of them. What's that?
No,
Why?
because you're one person and you can't do everything that needs to get focused on the money making tasks.
Absolutely. You truly want leverage and you want to do other things. I'm sure everyone here has other interests besides real estate, right? Is you can't do all that and be an independent individual agent. It's impossible. You're only one person, right? That's where, like for me, and I learned this early on, is having an admin or a TC, right? Marketing, social media, right? That's where leveraging these resources in order to, if you're going to be individual, run at a high level and get some time back. And then you move down to being, you say, okay, I want to be a team leader. I want to start a team. I've heard it a million times. You know, I'm doing $6 million. I want to start a team. And Chris, how do I do it? Okay, well, here's the model for it. And here's all the things you got to have. From setting up your LLC, S Corp, your entity, whatever you want to set up, all the way down to the amount of money you need to have in your bank account before you can even consider doing it. And I won't allow anybody to start a team unless they have all those done, because they're just going to fail. And I don't want that for them. Right. But the teams that are already there, or groups, I will say, there's that E to P we're talking about, right? There's a ceiling for them that they can't break through. And the reason for that is they're a group. They're not a cohesive team. They're a bunch of people doing their own thing who just happens to be or think they are a team. Right? They don't show up for team meetings. They don't lead generate. The team is buying leads and that's what they're counting on. Right? They're not a cohesive team. Not until then, and this is the team leader's fault. I don't blame the agents for it. Not until you become a team where you actually have purpose. You know, you have buy-in. You love the brand, you feel good about it, right? And I know for me, when I say, you know, I'm owner of KW Philadelphia, I feel good about it because I know that We have a great brand. We have great leadership team. We have great agents, right? Our value proposition is really good. That's the difference between being a group and a team, is the value proposition they have and the cohesiveness that they have between the team leader and the agents on the team. Does that make sense to everyone? Because I don't know if you guys break it down here between when you do your sales meetings or whatever, individual agents, groups and teams, which is fine. But when Gary talked about it in the way that he talked about it, it made all the sense in the world, because we have a lot of groups, but we don't have a lot of true teams, right? Who in here is the team leader, has a team? Does that make sense to you? Any questions on that? Ask your partner for one limiting belief he or she has that is holding them back. What steps could your partner take to remove this limiting belief? Switch roles, do it to each other. What action steps does your partner think you could take? Incorporate these into your 4-in-1. Normally, we would do this together, right? But this is something that you can do with your accountability partner, because you're gonna, if you don't have one, you're gonna get one, right? You're gonna share your 4-in-1 and your GPS with them. You're gonna share your goals, right?
Right.
Because they care about you. Right? Please do me a favor. Don't leave here and be like, I'm not gonna do it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Please don't do that. Right? Because it works. 2 ahas. Remove your limiting beliefs. Come on. Yes. Thanks, Matt.
You guys are all very shy today. You're usually not very shy.
Very shy.
I would say just, our own perception, a lot of times ourselves, is what we feed our brain, and sometimes just thinking, oh, we can't overcome something, or we can't accomplish something. Ultimately, I think this section of removing your limiting beliefs is going to really, anything is possible, when we put a plan in place to get there.
Yep. Absolutely. It's great. One more. Yes.
Also, I was thinking, if you don't know what your limiting beliefs are, find somebody that you trust that knows you and ask them, what do you see that I need to maybe break through? And-
Oh, it's so good.
And they can give you a perspective, because obviously if you don't see it, you're stuck in some sort of blind spot. So if you go to somebody that you trust, then they can, in love, tell you that, and that's
Yeah.
something that you can work on.
That is so good. Another example of that is when you're singing in the shower or in the car and you think you sound good, and then you record it and listen to your car with suck. Right? So, but that's so good is, asking someone that really cares about you, hey, what do you think my limiting beliefs or holes are where I need to improve on? So good. Last one, be accountable. Oh God, are you a victim or are you accountable? Ignorance. Someone who asked no questions. Be curious. I'm very curious. I always want to know why people do the things they do. Just that person doesn't seek reality, right? The opposite is seeks reality. And what is the situation? Second one is denial. That's not the way it is. That's not how I see it. That's your perception. How many times have we heard that when we got in arguments with someone? Fights reality, acknowledges reality. This is the way it is. Got it. I'll see what's going on. Right. Third one, projection. If everybody would do their job, it's not my fault. It's yours. I've heard that one plenty of times. The market is the blame. The economy is the blame. Why didn't you do something? Blame, blame, blame. And then owns it. If it is to be, then it's up to me. What do I want? I've got to do something. This is my responsibility. Well, that one right there is a big one, especially for me. The way that our team, my leadership team operates is everybody owns their job, but also when they mess up or make a mistake, that they own it and know that they're not going to get in trouble for it. They also are able to tell me, hey, you didn't show up for this, we really needed you as an example, or you really messed up on this. They're able to have that I keep that door open because I want them to be able to have the autonomy to say, hey, yeah, you missed the boat on this one, you didn't do this. I love that, right? Because they know that I'll own it. Yep, you're right, I messed up. You move on, right? But when you play the blame game, it just never works, whether it's in a personal relationship or a business. Deflection. Nobody told me, it's not my job. I was never given a chance, it doesn't work here. I did what I was supposed to do, it didn't work. I can't think of anything else to do. Oh, God. I hate excuses. And then the opposite is find solutions, right? My team used to do this. I used to tell them, do me a favor, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions, right? Because we'll work through it together, but just don't come to me and say, I got this problem, I got this problem, I got this problem, right? It affects the culture too. What are my options? How can I get what I want? What can I do? Right? It's like, this is something I needed to work on. Sometimes, and you women will definitely relate to this, is my wife would tell me, sometimes I just want you to listen to me. I don't want you to be a fixer. Like, I don't want you to come up with the solutions for everything, right? So for me, that's who I am, right? I'm the fixer. I want to help, I want to fix. It comes from a good place. It just means that sometimes she's like, she'll tell me what's wrong. I'm not telling you because I want you to fix it. I just want you to listen to me. I don't want you to say anything, right? So the same holds true for, like, if you're a leader in your company, that sometimes your staff just wants you to listen to them, right? You don't have to actually fix the problem because you are fixing it automatically just by listening to them. Make sense?
Yeah.
And then resignation. If it was meant to be, it will happen. Oh, I love that one. Just wait and see. We've all done what we could. Let's just wait and see. Time will tell. It's out of my hands. The proof will be in the pudding. Hope and wait for no one. Gets on with it. Action plan. Let's go, get started. Thumbs up, let's go. This is what I will do. I was never given a chance. Okay, let's do it. Let's get on with it. So the victim equals status quo, the accountable equals change. This is kind of like the E to P, right? The easy to pain right here, right? Thoughts on this? What's the one thing that comes to your mind when you see that or hear?
How we kind of ingrain one or more of those sayings in our day-to-day.
Yep.
Without realizing it.
Yeah, imagine you're on a team, you're on a real estate team. And this is pretty much all you're getting. What do you think that does for your culture on the team? Not good, right? It's important to be around people that believe in these things right here. Really important, not just the team, but also in your market center as well, right?
I
Yeah.
also think it's important that the people who are like on the accountability
Yep.
section that. Like you had said, they know that they're not gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
So like, yes, I screwed up, but how can I fix it or whatever, without being like, oh my God, what are you gonna say? And then you have like a nervous breakdown before you even want to say, and then you're like, oh, no, and there you go. Now you're back to the victim.
You're absolutely right, because what will happen is, if you have that environment where they're afraid to come to you, they'll start going telling other people. And before you know it, they'll be going tell my agents, right? And now you have a real problem, because then once it's kind of easier when you have the right people to build culture up. But then when culture actually gets sacrificed, it's very hard to bring it back again. And that's why having an open door policy, at least with my example with my team, to be able to talk about anything, whether it be personal or professionals, is really, really important.
And it's at either phase of your business, so you're just starting out or you've been in it for however many years.
No question. I coach one of the biggest producers in my office who has a very big team. And unfortunately, he went through a divorce and he has spilled his guts to me. A lot of different things. and things that he didn't do well, right? And he was, vulnerable enough to be open to change. And say, these are the things that you have to start doing. And has done a complete, like, 180 or almost 180, he's getting there. But he's doing much better. He was in a very bad state. Now, if someone did, whether it's me or someone else didn't step in, I firmly believe he would have lost his team. Because agents on his team were starting to talk. He's not showing up. He's not coming to meetings. He's not the same person.
Yeah.
Right? And I heard that from his agents, and I had to tell him, this is what I'm hearing, man. And trust me, if there's more than 2 people saying it, it's true,
Yeah.
right? We just talked about that. Mark Weiss is a great guy too. All right, accountable versus victim. Think of an issue or problem you are struggling with right now. You have 2 minutes to complain about your problem with those in the classroom. After 2 minutes, right? Well, you guys are in your seats, but we're gonna do this real quick. So whoever's next to you, this is gonna be pretty easy over here, right? So think of an issue or problem you're struggling with right now. You have 2 minutes to complain about your problem with others in the classroom. Okay? Think about it. Just think about it.
No, I think. I'm struggling with. I've also got. Fascinating.
Works. All right, so I'm gonna need 2 volunteers to share, but first, what do you hear when you hear someone telling the other person about their complaint? What in your mind, the person that they're complaining to, right? What do you want to be a fixer? Do you
Well, I wanna help.
want to help?
Yeah.
Right? So what makes you think that the problems you're having, because we all have problems in our businesses or business, right? Things that we could be doing better. What makes you think that if you didn't confide that into someone who can help it, that they wouldn't do it for you? Right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we don't take that and take action on it and find someone who has the solution that will listen and actually help you. For me, as you get older, you learn you want to get from A to B as fast as possible, right? Not 21 anymore, right? So I'm in a hurry. Like I'm in a real hurry because I was in another profession for a long time and I'm like making up ground now, right? I'm on this journey right now. It's like I'm like 150 miles an hour. Like that thermostat is like at 120. And that's just how I operate. And I don't have all that time as if I was like 13 years old being illegally a dishwasher in a restaurant, right? So I just don't have the luxury of a lot of time. So for me, I'm very purposeful on who I'm gonna talk to for what I need. Right? That's one of the purposes of this exercise, even though some of that is not really the intention for the slide. But it's really, to me, that's what it really means. Right? So 2 people, volunteers of that actually were listening to the complaining. But what did you hear and share? Yeah,
So,
Yep.
this young lady right here is wonderful, and she's been wonderful since the first day I met her, but
awesome.
limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
It's like, I feel like what I heard is she didn't believe that she can accomplish. And she definitely can.
And what would your advice be to her?
I told her what I just said. I said, you know, from day one, I felt like you're gonna be successful. You can do it.
Yep.
You will do it.
Yep. You know what, when you have someone, I had someone like this, but in other profession who believed in me and I needed to hear it. Right? And that for me was game changer. Like literally it really changed the course of like who I became in that profession. And it was someone that I respected. So it's even better when you hear it from someone that is actually really good at what they do. So to hear something like that does make a difference. So sometimes, you know, you never know what someone's going through. When you can listen to them, they just maybe need to hear that. So that was great. One more. I'll pick on you. I promise you. You got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Right there.
You're looking at me, right?
Yep. Because I know you were saying you're you better not pick on me.
Yeah. Okay, so, do you wanna know what we were talking about or my person?
Who was complaining? Who's doing the complaining?
I think we both were.
Okay,
So I'm gonna
what'd you
tell
hear?
it to him.
Yeah, good.
Okay, no, just kidding. So basically, he's learning, right? He's a new agent.
Okay,
In this KW, correct, in the Keller Williams. And I said to him, you know, listen, I get it, because I was a teacher for 35 years. So now I just switched into a new profession. So, and you just gotta, you know, just hug it and, you know, embrace it and just go for it.
Yep.
You know, and so then we were talking about, since I was a teacher for 35 years, I was so used to closing my door and
Yeah.
having that
Yeah.
time, right?
absolutely.
And being able to be like, this is my time, get out of my face, I'm gonna work, right? So, and I'm like struggling with that right now, because I'm like, my husband works from home, and I'm like, oh my God, get out of my face, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm here, so
Sure.
I'm just trying to figure that out, so that's my struggle.
That's
So
interesting.
I'm chipping away and I'm getting there, but I'm like not holding on to the big rocks yet.
Yeah.
You know, so,
You know what's funny is that, I mean, by the way, teachers make great agents, by the way.
well, thank you.
Yeah, they do. Is I purposely, I don't really, my office, I don't spend, because it's away from everything.
Mhm.
I actually go into a conference room or out in the open to get my work done. And it's where I can see more people,
Right,
right? It's about being more visible. But I know for me that I'll get distracted. So I gotta make sure that window in the morning, that 80%, right, the big rocks, that I tackle those, knowing that I'm gonna get distracted in the afternoon.
yeah,
So it's a setup, basically, because I already know what's gonna happen, and it does. Does it get frustrating sometimes? Yes, even if I'm on a call, hey, you know, I'm on a call, right? But it, you know, that mindset of like being a teacher in a classroom, shutting the door away from everything, is that you're not supposed to do that,
right,
right, in this
right.
culture, in this atmosphere, right?
So it's all
It's
changing
interesting.
my mindset.
Yeah,
It really is.
no, that's great. I
So,
love that.
oh, thanks.
No, but you know what, though? No, but sharing that with someone, right,
Mhm.
is good for self-discovery,
Yeah,
right? And also can help you get rid of that limiting belief,
it's
or you
true,
open that door up,
it's true,
right?
yeah.
Because you did it for so long.
Oh, gosh.
This is good. So I've gotten to know Mark really well. He's an awesome leader and even better person, but he has the people that he surrounds us. He's lucky enough well, Carl Liebert's not here anymore, but, to have Gary as a mentor, like every day, so it's pretty cool, but, he separates it from financial, spiritual, physical, and business of the people that he's surrounded by. I kind of do something similar, and I kind of, it's kind of like my personal org chart, right? Of the people that be surrounded by. And it will change. Because I've kicked people out of that circle and replaced them. Right? Because when you can't help me anymore, it's like a coach. My leadership coach that I had for 5 years, well, almost 5 years, I fired him like 6 months ago. And fired him in a good way. He just couldn't get me to the next level. And I told him that, and he still tried getting me back, like, you know. And I just said, Brian, I'm sorry, man. You are an awesome leader. You're a great coach, but for me, it's just not working right now. It's a hard conversation to have. So just make sure whoever's still in that circle for you, right, is supporting your purpose. Really, really important. Again, who are you surrounded by? Right? You are who you're surrounded by. Right? I would take a deep look at that. I have a few friends that I'm not with anymore, just because they're not aligned with my values, and it's just things change, people change. So what was your goal? How did you do? How did you feel about that? Based on how you did, what was your goal, and what do you need to do now? Is there anything that might keep you from doing that? If you need training or support to do this, what might it be? Again, it's just tracking your progress, right? Writing down your goals and tracking it. Do you have the MREA2 economic model?
Printed or,
Do you have it though? Did you see the new one?
no, I haven't seen it.
All right, so I'll send it to you. There's a new, you probably didn't do it, right? An economic model spreadsheet.
No.
A couple of you maybe did, no? All right. It breaks it up. You put your GCI at the top, and then it backs into it. How many sell side, how many list side that you have to do, how many calls, appointments, and so on, to actually net you your GCI. So what do you have to do in gross to be able to net? So usually it's $1 million, right? It's MREA, it's $1 million agent. And it's great because it auto-populates it for you. So as you put in the numbers, and you can do it for 2022, if you've been in business more than a year, put your numbers in there. And then what you can do is project it for 2023. It's a great exercise to do. That coincides with, if you do it, your 4-in-1 and your GPS. And by the way, you take the time to do your GPS, you take the time to do your 4-in-1. Where should it go next? Oh, who said that? Boom, on your calendar. On your calendar. So you take that, so if on your 4-in-1, it's to make 50 calls a day, right? That should go on your calendar. Right, and then break it down. Are they expireds, withdrawns? Is it your Shafir? What is it, right? So get more granular on it. A lot of mistake people make when they do the 4-in-1, it's very generic. Get more granular on exactly what it is, right? Make sense? All right, ahas. And then I'm gonna do a real quick exercise that's a little bit unrelated to this, and then we're done. Give me 3 ahas. Don't we all?
Call it the blue and the red.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we're in the blue side, and this is just in life, and whatever. So we have the blue, and when we're in the blue side, we really need to seek out people that are gonna help us with that particular topic on the red side.
Yep.
And I'll just give you, sharing something personal. Last night, I was in one of the blue zones, and I called a blue zone person. So the 2 blues are not gonna help you.
That's
So I took the phone, and I realized several hours later, I'm like, oh, that was not the person I should be talking to.
Yep.
They hung me out in the blue zone, and I need to get in the red zone. So
Yeah.
I think the blue and the red is a good life lesson.
Well, also too, I don't need to hang with someone that tells me how good I am. Right? right?
Sometimes, no, okay, no, just.
I mean. Don't get me wrong, it's great to get compliments,
Right.
don't get me wrong,
Right.
but I want someone to be honest with me and I have shortfalls or wherever they are. Be honest enough to say, hey, listen, you know what, when you did this, it made me feel this way. Or, maybe you could have done it this way and got a different result, right? And so it's being able to actually identify with someone like you're talking about, which is great. I love it.
I love that phrase, Christine, a blue zone person. I'm gonna remember that. Am I talking to a blue zone person?
Stay in the blue zone. Yes,
I think it's important to recognize that we're in the blue zone, as you call it, in the victim mode, because I think it's just so natural to go there. And if we're not even recognizing it, how can we then look to change it?
no question, no question. And if you're around, we call it the blue zone people. If we're around, it's all we're around. It's not good. It's not good at all, because that's your environment now.
That's right.
That's the world you live in. Yep, one more. One more. We don't have one more. After all that,
I think we should pick on somebody.
Yeah,
Just
it's
say
fun.
Yeah.
that. Yeah, not me though.
I think somebody in the back too.
Oh, yeah.
The gentleman in the nice white fresh shirt right there with the glasses. Yeah, that's you. Anything, could be anything.
Guess that when. Well, I could say, I think the difference between producers and non-producers. Producers never make excuses and non-producers can't stop using.
Good.
And you know, the old adage, when you point the finger at someone, you get three coming back at you.
It's exactly right.
Am I done? I'm done.
You're good. That wasn't too painful, was it? It has to be a little pain because we run towards pain, don't we?
Yeah, so
Need a pain. All right, this is something I teach in wealth building class. This should strike some nerves. And listen, I should have failed art class, so don't judge me on this. All right, so the first circle, and I'll get out of the way in a minute, is your economic engine. Your second circle over here is your expense dump. And the third one is your wealth strategy. We're into bonus time right now. This isn't part of the course. All right. Economic engine, what do you think that means?
generation.
It's money you have coming in, right? So for most of you, it's real estate sales. Right? Do you guys have a title company here?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have investors in it?
Yes.
Yeah. For some of you that qualify, right? Title investor. There could be, you own properties. Own real estate. What else?
Profit share.
Profit share. What else? Maybe you own another business. Maybe some of you are crazy enough to own a bagel place or a restaurant, right? Anything else?
Investment properties? Oh, you have.
Yep,
that.
yep, own real estate, yep. I think that's good for now, right? There could be insurance. Do you have an insurance company here?
Not
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Not yet, but so when that happens, right, there'll be, insurance investor in that and maybe a mortgage in it one day, right? Expense dump, what's that? What?
Right, all your expenses.
That's where your money goes, right? Okay. So mortgage. Or rent. What else?
Your platforms.
Business expenses?
Yeah.
Personal.
Yep,
Household expenses.
we'll just put personal expenses, yep. What else?
Our pay.
Yep. Well, we'll put that in personal expenses. Car payment, gas, food, utilities, right? Spending money.
Tuition.
Right, so
Education.
education, yeah. Both not just for tuition, but family reunion, day camp, all that, right? All right, so I think you get the idea. So now, hopefully. When you pay all this out. You got money left over. Right? And this is, you should have a budget. Hopefully you do. Now, if you have money left over, right? What do you do with it?
Build wealth,
How do you do that?
invest,
Invest in,
real estate.
okay? Could be stocks, right?
Invest in yourself,
Absolutely.
Pay down debt.
like health.
Health, you said?
Yeah,
Yep.
investing in yourself.
Real estate, stocks, health, hopefully you're not doing Bitcoin. So the moral of the story is, right, is when you actually take what you make and take what you spend and keep track of it and find out what you have left over. There's two things. One, what do you do with it? And two, how do you protect it? Because oftentimes everyone is like, make money, make money, make money. But then how do you protect it? And then what do you do with the excess money that you have left over? If you have $1,000 left over, how do you break that $1,000 up? Do you reserve $250 for real estate and a savings account for a down payment on a real estate property? Do you take $250 and put it into the stock market? You put $500, put it somewhere else? Again, disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a CPA. But get with someone who actually is really good at this, because I have an amazing CPA who owns a zillion real estate properties and knows the ins and the outs, right? He knows the business really well, so he's able to help me. Also, find a financial advisor. Same thing, my financial advisor owns real estate too, so it works out really well. And it's good to diversify. So I do have some money in stocks, but not a lot. How much money do you have liquid in case you have a property that you want to buy right away? We know how competitive it is right now, right? So just, if you don't have a wealth strategy, you have nothing, right? Even if you're just starting out and you're not bringing in little or no money right now, the plan is you will be. And the best time to actually have a wealth strategy, right, is when you have money coming in and you're not now, okay, what do I do next? Right? So real important to make sure that you track the money, visit your money. Right? Every week, like it's on my calendar, Tuesday, 8 o'clock at night, I have a meeting with my wife. We kind of go through finances and we go through some other things. It's good to visit your money, know where it's going, make sure it's protected. And then the money that you have left over, have a strategy for it. Because unfortunately, a lot of agents are paying themselves and not paying an LLC or an S Corp or however they set it up. They're not able to write off what they could write off. And then they don't pay their taxes. They don't put money aside in a separate account and pay their taxes quarterly. Or if you don't want to do that, at least get a separate account and put the money aside. Right? And I can tell you more stories than I really want to tell you about agents that just don't pay their taxes. They get in trouble because they think it's going to last forever. And as we know, nothing lasts forever. Right? Any questions on that? Do yourself a favor and really do this exercise. It will actually show you, two things. One, it'll tell you exactly what you're making, because a lot of people don't know what they're making, believe it or not. What's your GCI for 2022? I don't know, I think it was 200,000, I'm not sure. Then, when they start looking at all their expenses, oh, I didn't realize I had a subscription to that, I didn't realize I was paying for that. Because it's just automatic, it's habit, right? It just automatically comes out of my account. Right? The best time to actually run lean is right now. Because things are tough right now. So start cutting some expenses, things that you don't need, right? And then money that's left over, what are you doing with it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with money sitting in a savings account. But you lose money in the savings account with inflation.
Best.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions? All right. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. I went a little over.
No, you're good. Chris, for, making the trek today. I know it was.
Oh,
It's a challenging drive, and I appreciate you.
it's all
for
good,
coming.
you're welcome.
And thank you guys for all being in attendance. Mark, do you wanna? So are you ready for your?
Thank you, everyone.
Chris.
Do you teach?
Thank you, guys.
Like, do you?
Yep.
like,